The Hizmet movement is willing to embrace those in far corners of the world who are willing to serve God, who are willing to experience God, who are willing to submit themselves to the understanding of God's will. My name is Steve Jolly. I am a pastor at Freemason Street Baptist Church in Norfolk, Virginia. I have been in clergy work for about 40 years, but I also have an academic side. I have a Ph.D. in sociology, and so the idea of studying cultures, the idea of stereotype and individual prejudice has also been an intriguing element of study for me. So my faith is very important, but also to be a person who understands the differences within a culture and appreciate them is very important as well. My personal views on the Hizmet movement are extremely positive. When you look at the construct of both interfaith dialogue, interfaith cooperation, what I believe very firmly is a group of Muslims who are living out the deepest part of their faith tradition. It's an extremely warm, loving, open-minded, open-hearted, dedicated to the service of humanity movement, and I am very positively inclined towards it. My opinion of Imam Gulen is, I've read several of his books. The theological constructs out of which he operates are incredibly insightful. As a person whose own tradition is not of the Islamic background, to read his interpretation of Islam is both eye-opening, it's insightful. I think it brings a perspective to the table that most Americans, particularly Americans of a Christian tradition, would find very enlightening, to understand that there is not this uniform, monolithic mindset within Islam, but there are great textures of interpretation, of understanding Islam as something that one indeed wants to submit to the will of God, but that we are all in this together, that this is an endeavor of care and concern for all persons, because in the end, we are all in this together. And regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our culture, regardless of our faith traditions, it is a view that we are all God's children, and therefore all deserving of a sense of respect and care, and that the least of us should be cared for. To me, some of the most significant contributions that the Hizmet movement and Mr. Gulen have brought to the table has been the idea that there is within Islam a structure of egalitarianism. That theology allows persons to see each other across the table as fellow human beings on this journey of life. Moving from that then, since we are in this together, one of the great contributions is the idea that we care for each other, we serve our world, and we do so with a recognition that there's a diversity within God's order. It also, and try to sort of work this out here, because service is so vitally important, the idea that each individual has gifts and talents, gifts of time and treasure, of personality, to bring to the care and the service of God's world. The idea is that one should make the best of the gifts and talents one has been used. So therefore, education is critically important. The more educated I become, the more knowledgeable I become, the more tools that I have in this knowledge basket, the greater I can give service to my world. And therefore, what I bring is even multiplied more in the care of those who are in need. The Hizmet movement has been a marvelous force for good in our world. If you'll allow me to tell you a story out of my own tradition. My prophet, Isa, tells the story of a Samaritan who cares for a person who has been beaten and robbed and left for dead on the side of the road. The idea at the time is that a Samaritan is somebody who is not accepted in society. They are someone different. They are odd. They are the stranger. And here's a person in need. 2 points. If you are the person who is robbed, the person who is in need, you don't really care who comes to bind your wounds and care for you. But secondarily, it is a statement that we are all in this together, that caring for those who are in need is what God loves for us to do. And therefore, the Hizmet movement is a blessing of God to those who receive the care that is given. I am a Baptist in my background. At the roots of the Baptist tradition, again, it's a very egalitarian tradition. And what it says is my experience of God is a very personal, intimate experience. However, you have a personal, intimate experience with God. Rather than viewing your experience as somehow alien or different from mine, the earliest Baptist says, you have something to teach me about the nature of God. And if I listen very carefully to you, I actually may know more about God than I will ever know on my own. We each use the lens of our tradition, whether it is Jewish or Muslim or Christian, by which to understand and see that particular element. But it is being willing to be open of heart and mind to say, there is something here of value, the larger experience of God's nature that we have to learn from each other about. The Hizmet movement presents an Islam which sees the breadth of God's creation, that there is a diversity of the human condition across the world, there's a breadth of human intellect and thought, and yet it sees it all as God's world. The Hizmet movement is willing to embrace those in far corners of the world who are willing to serve God, who are willing to experience God, who are willing to submit themselves to the understanding of God's will. So the Hizmet movement has brought insight and wisdom, a warmth, if you will, to the Islamic tradition that most Americans are unfamiliar with and don't experience in their daily lives. My opinion of the Hizmet movement's interfaith dialogue experiences has been absolutely fantastic. Mr. Gulen has said to the effect that if you can listen with an open ear to someone else's perspective, and this rings true with what I just said earlier about my own tradition, is that you can understand another perspective not only about that other person's world and experience, but perhaps even about that person's experience with God. Therefore, to be engaged in a dialogue with a Buddhist or a Christian or a Jewish person is to encounter another way of experiencing the presence of God. Interfaith dialogue allows not just tolerance, but understanding. I may disagree with you about a particular perspective, but if I understand it, I don't see you as crazy or somehow outside of the bounds of civilized society. If I can understand how you come to the table on a particular issue, then I know why your advocacy is in that direction. I know why you practice in the certain ways that you do. And therefore, two things happen. Number one, I can appreciate that in you. And number two, I understand that you and I are alike in the ways that we both carry these thoughts, perspectives that are ours. It is a marvelous way of recognizing, again, we're in this together. You and I are both children of God. we're not that different at the core. Our traditions and our experiences may make us somewhat different in how we see our world, but we're all God's children. The Hizmet movement's emphasis on education is twofold. Number one, if I am well educated, if I have taken the time to better my intellect, I come to the world with a greater, as I've said, toolbox on how to help the world improve. I may invent something, I may engineer something even better. So education is a way by which I can bring to the world a way to make it better. The second thing that it does is education introduces me to different ways of thinking, to approaching a situation. So therefore, by my being educated, I understand you better. Through my education, I see your culture or that culture, and it's not just an alien thing. It's something to which I may learn from and enhance my own living.